Hi everyone, Will Brooks, Sales Director at Spectrami here in the UK. I'm with my colleague Grant.
Grant Tiller, I look after technical pre-sales.
The reason we're here today to talk to you is a couple of weeks ago I put an article on LinkedIn, and the subject of that was, is everybody's hybrid cloud unique? And more importantly, is it fit for purpose? And what do people need to do to get the best out of their hybrid cloud environment? So we go back 15 years or so, 95% of everyone's data was in their data center. We know that was the case, and they had complete control over that infrastructure. Some of it was really good, some of it was constraining and very expensive to run. Over those last 15 years or so, lots of things have changed, and people have built a hybrid cloud environment using a mix-max of public cloud providers, but also pushing applications out into software as a service vendors. So their data and their application set has come very much away from the data center. So we talk a little bit about what that looks like today. We've got the public cloud providers, so we may have Azure, AWS. There's obviously lots of others. There's sort of Alibaba and Oracle have got cloud offerings. So Google, they all have different value propositions. But we've also got a lot of SaaS products. So we have things like, I guess Salesforce.com was the first software as a service product that became $1 billion organization, and it's so widely used. But there's hundreds of others.
A classic example, if you look at Remedy, the BMC product, that's now become a SaaS offering.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of vendors now are looking at their software portfolio that they may have had for years and years, and they're changing the way they're taking that to market, and it's becoming an off-premise solution, a SaaS offering. So we're seeing that all the time now.
Now, what hasn't gone away is on-prem and what we keep in the data center ourselves. And I guess, how long ago, 5 years ago, Nutanix sort of made, probably not quite that long, Nutanix made a statement and came with hyperconverged technology, and effectively what they were trying to do there is bring the cloud-based technology that you see up here back into your own data center and making it more cost effective.
And on-prem is what everyone is now calling a private cloud. So you've got all of the benefits with solutions like Nutanix cloud-based technologies, but we're bringing those benefits back into our data center and our private cloud environments now.
And I guess what's important to me as a user is I don't really care where my data is coming from, as long as I have the work that I can do my job with.
And nor should I care. As a user, my expectation is for the delivery or for access of services from my desktop, and that desktop could be something like an iPhone or an iPad. It could be the more traditional laptop or desktop PC. But I'm taking that expectation of really snacking on the services from anywhere. I don't care where they're coming from, but my expectation is I can access those services, I can access the data, I can use the applications immediately. I really don't care where they're coming from.
Okay, and I guess that's great, because as a user, I want this flexibility and I just want things to work now. And the world's become like that, hasn't it? We need everything now. We expect, we go up here and we look at AWS and we talk about Amazon. Where they came from is actually delivering parcels to our front door the next day. You order something today, it's with you tomorrow. It's instant. If you want that
spontaneous gratification, they call it.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, so that's wonderful. And if that's what demand's being met down here, what is happening then to the CIOs and the CTOs that have got to deliver these services? It's really difficult for them to get there. And cloud was hailed as the big answer to everything, but and I guess it is, but
I think the problem we're seeing, particularly for the CIO right now, is actually if they don't get on top of these technologies, then you will see the insider threats coming through, or the shadow IT, as we were calling it a couple of years ago. My users, my workers will go out and get these services, whether or not they come from the IT department. So, as an IT guy, I need to be responsible. I need to keep on top of these technologies, and I need to make sure that they're delivered under my control to the users in the organization. If they're not, they're going to go somewhere else and get them.
Yeah, and I guess then you start thinking about things over here.
Yep.
Who's not got a problem with Dropbox in their organisation?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because people are putting data into that environment because it works for them. It's easy. So there's lots of software as a service applications that people look at. In a way that's an extension of cloud computing. It's not in the true hybrid cloud that we're talking about.
Also, we're seeing mixed cloud environments being used more and more throughout an organization. So mixed cloud or multi-cloud is where an organization will use perhaps Azure out on the desktop, so Office 365 or something along those lines, because Microsoft made the pricing so attractive, it's so easy to use, it's consumer focused in terms of the usability. But then in the back end, you'll see perhaps the data center and the admin guys are using AWS to deliver some of their services. So a lot of these organizations are really mixing and matching one or more flavors of cloud technology to get the best for their organization.
Yeah, so look, I think what we're saying there, Grant, is that it's not a matter of if people should go cloud. That decision's been made.
It's inevitable.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's more now a case of how do I build and design my cloud environment so that I get the right results for me. And every user, every organization's got their unique set of users, they've got a unique set of data, they've got a unique set of constraints that they need to put around security and everything else. And I guess that's a big thing that fits in here is where is the security piece around that. And a lot of the products and vendors we work with actually are security vendors because this is a massively important piece. But we've got this unique set of users. The biggest problem, okay, we've got the SaaS stuff out here, but in most cases the decision's been made that the data is their CRM system is going to be moved out to Salesforce.com. It's just an example, but we've put that out there, and it's a web-based application, and there's not an awful lot I can do with that. Now, there will be plugins to other applications, maybe to email, and therefore there'll be some integration here that needs to be done.
Yep.
But I think where the problem is and the cloud challenge is in between here and here, backwards and forwards, and this data, this elasticity of workloads isn't really working for people at the moment because I don't know. I mean, it's because there's high bills here that come out that people weren't really expecting.
I think that's a key area is whilst every single enterprise is different, actually all of the requirements for a solution like this are the same. And those requirements are, we must have that elasticity that you're referring to. We must have the lowest possible cost, the highest availability. We must have superb performance really to meet the expectation of that end user. And that's where we're seeing this cloud sprawl. People are really using the best services and they're finding that when the bill comes in at the end of the month, the costs are going out of control because that's the only way they can get the quality of service or performance or high availability that the business demands.
And cloud sprawl, we used to have VM sprawl back here. We used to have lots of servers in here, and then we went from having server sprawl when everyone was sticking the pizza box DL360 from HP into a rack, and
exactly.
I just want another server.
Same problem. We're just taking the on-premise sprawl and moving it up to the cloud as well, like everything else.
Yeah. So look, there must be a way we can manage this. There must be a way we can control this and try and get these costs in line. Is there something that we can do to achieve that?
Well, we're seeing a lot of organisations now talking about moving some of their compute back on-premise. The initial cloud boom, everyone was moving stuff out to AWS and out to Azure. But what we're finding is once people are sort of understanding what the billing cycles are like and how much of the cost actually is coming in, we're now having conversations about moving some of that compute back on premise again. And what that means is the requirement is to have all the flexibility that they've just been enjoying with the cloud technologies over the last couple of years, but on-prem. And I think we've got some really, really nice solutions at Spectrami that we're bringing to market, and we're talking to some resellers about taking them out to the enterprises.
So what you're talking about here is actually some level of orchestration or management in here.
Yep.
And I think we heard Microsoft when they announced their results say the best ever quarter for cloud and for Azure, but they absolutely expect there to be this hybrid environment. And we've spoken to a few people who've spoken about 80-20 maybe, that actually the compute and the storage and the data should probably be 80% on premise and about 20% up in this public cloud.
It's quite interesting for me. Microsoft have always been, in years gone by and decades gone by, they've always been the on-prem guys. They've always been about data centers and full up with servers, all running Microsoft tools and technologies. Azure came along and they gave some of this elasticity, high availability, access from anywhere. Recently, they came up with a concept of on-prem Azure. So they've got all the flexibility of Azure, and now they're taking that flexibility and offering it on-premise again. So organizations can mix and match in this hybrid environment and use both technologies as they need to. And I think all the other cloud vendors are going to be playing catch up over the coming months to bring something similar to market as well.
And I guess just very quickly before we sort of wrap up today, I think we were speaking here just about VMs and VM sprawl, and you have cloud sprawl. Containers, just containers, that and DevOps. That's the new thing, and perhaps we could maybe get together and just have a chat and share with everybody what that really means. But does containers change this, or is it just all the same?
I think containers adds a new dimension to it. The interesting thing about containers is it's very short-lived compute resource.
Yeah.
So you're not planning on having a container to be alive for years as some of the data center type compute resources. Containers could be alive for seconds, to perform a task and then shut down straight away. But you've got a lot of the problems and a lot of the challenges that we're talking about here, and I think it'd certainly be worth doing another session and talking exclusively about containers, because it's an interesting area. A lot of the DevOps guys are waking up to the fact that we need this flexibility and security and high availability for containers in the same way as we covered these areas as well. But certainly a topic for another time.
Cool. So just to wrap up then, what we're saying is that there is now a real possibility for people to see the true benefits of cloud that were promised by the analysts years ago.
Yep.
We can see that today. We can start to realise that. But it's about having something that's specific and bespoke for you, and it's about understanding this management layer here, about how to get the best about what I've got on premise, what I've got out in the public cloud, and what integrates with my software as a service vendors, and then let's get that designed and get this piece right, this management layer, and you're absolutely on the right track to benefit from that.
And I think also, from the end user perspective, it's about making sure that all these technologies are all meshed perfectly, and the user receives a seamless service. They receive it in an orderly time. They receive it with superb performance, and management of all these different layers, I think, is key to that.
Cool. Right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay in touch with us on Twitter and through YouTube, and there'll be some more videos.
Thanks a lot.